Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. What is going on, everybody? Thank you very much for being here. Finally, some NBA basketball tonight. Finally, game one tonight. Lakers. Oh man, listen to me. Listen to me. I just lobbed the Lakers in the NBA Finals for no reason at all. Obviously, we got the Indiana Pacers and the Oklahoma City Thunder. Finally, looking forward to watching some basketball again. It's been a little bit, guys. It's been a little while. What was it? Saturday, I think the Pacers finished off the Knicks, so it's definitely been a second. Thank you for hanging out. Appreciate you guys being part of the show. If you guys don't mind subscribing to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. It just takes a couple of minutes here. Actually, doesn't take a couple minutes. It takes a couple of seconds. Trying to close in on 32,000 subscribers. I would greatly appreciate that. Got a good quote for everybody. Got a rundown for everybody, and then we'll get the show started. All right, let me give everyone a quick quote here, real quick. Quote of the day: "Weak people revenge. Strong people forgive. Intelligent people ignore. Weak people revenge. Strong people forgive. Intelligent people ignore." Phenomenal quote right there. Really good quote. You guys got something you want to share with the rest of the chat and everybody else? Feel free to throw it in. Thank you for being here. We'll get the show started here in just a second. Let me give everyone just a quick little rundown of what we got going on for the show tonight or today. Pacers and the Thunder, obviously, game one tonight, like I mentioned. We'll talk a little bit about the game. I'm going to have Sammy Long join the show probably about 8:30. And when he comes on, we'll spend a little bit more time on previewing the game. I asked him to do what he can to just kind of give us some of the highlights of the game, things to look out for, advantages for the Pacers, advantages for the Thunder. So we'll do a little bit of that with Sammy, but I got some thoughts initially to start out the show. Our guy Trevor Lane put out something yesterday, and then I had to text him. I'm like, Trevor, I'm stealing this content from you. He put out something. He said, "Where does the Lakers trio rank in the NBA?" So where does LeBron, Luka, and Austin Reaves rank in kind of the big scheme of things here when you look at the rest of the trios in the NBA? So we'll spend a little bit of time on that. I thought that was an interesting topic. Honestly, I'm not as crazy as the trio as other people might be. I think if you're going to have three really good players, it's all about fit. And those players don't really complement each other all that most. So we'll spend a little bit of time on that as well. Adam Silver hit on a number of different topics yesterday. He was on, I think he was on the show in the morning for Fox Sports. It's a national show. And he hit on a few different topics that I want to get into. Some of them about the All-Star game. Some of them about Dallas getting the number one pick. So we'll hit on that. I mentioned Sammy's going to join the show. Crazy NBA rumors. I'll tell you this. If there's one thing that I've learned about every one of these NBA rumors, there's one thing I've learned. San Antonio's getting somebody. I don't know who the hell they're getting. They're getting somebody. Now you got Jaylen Brown that's tied with the San Antonio Spurs. Keep an eye out for that. I saw something Chris Mannix put out there on that. But there was a couple other NBA stories that I want to get into. And then the last thing, Shaq says he has no regrets with Kobe. Spent a little bit of time on that. That's interesting. You know, I would think those two players, I think they would have some regrets together. I think they would have thought they probably could have accomplished more, even though they went to 3 or 4 NBA championships. But you would have thought they could have kept that thing together and maybe won 4 NBA championships, 5 NBA championships, whatever that number would have been. Something to keep in mind in regards to that. So, all right. So there's a quick little rundown of what we got going on for the show today. I appreciate you guys hanging out. Got a lot of people. Let's see what we got here. I got some people here. Good morning, Slee. Good morning, Slee, and everyone. Here's a quote: "Everything in your life is a reflection of the choices you have made. Change your choices, change your life." Great quote there. Somebody talking about Adam Silver being a terrible commissioner. Okay, so we'll get into that. We'll give everyone just a quick heads up as well. I'm gonna try to do a little bit better of a job here. It's tough when I'm just doing the show, but I'm gonna try to do a little bit better of a job from a comment perspective. If you guys got comments and you guys want to hit on some things and you guys want to do whatever it is that you guys are doing with the comments, cool, awesome. I got no issue with it. One thing I will say, if there are comments on there that I think don't add anything, or I think are just trying to be disrespectful or whatever the case is, I'm just going to mute the comments. So I am going to try to keep a little bit more of an eye on it. I don't even care what you guys say on there, but if there are things that are just wildly disrespectful, or, I see comments on there a lot that are referencing the station, back in the day when I was it's unnecessary. So if I see it, then I'm probably just going to mute it. So something to keep in mind. Let's try our best to do what we can to just, be mindful of others that are on here as well. Okay, let's get the show started. Pacers Thunder game 1 tonight. Pacers Thunder game 1 tonight. How about that? I started the show and the first thing I said was Lakers. Like the Lakers got a game tonight. Could you imagine? Lakers have been out of the playoffs, I think, since February. I mean, there's been nothing. No actual action with the Lakers. Now, that doesn't mean there isn't Laker topics and there aren't good things to talk about, but actual action, yeah, there's no action around the Lakers. Pacers and the Thunders game 1 tonight. Lots of angles, to be honest. I think you could take on game 1. Thunder, of course, are going to be the huge favorites. Is there maybe a little bit, hey, can Indiana catch the Oklahoma City Thunder a little bit off guard in game 1 and maybe still game 1? Make this a series by just right out the gate, shutting everybody up and grabbing game 1. I think OKC will be ready, but the one thing that I think the Oklahoma City Thunder really haven't had that much in this playoffs is they've got a lot of rest right now. They had competition because they had competition against Denver. I don't think Minnesota or the Memphis Grizzlies challenged them at all. But maybe kind of catch them off guard, maybe sneak away a quick game 1 and nobody really just based upon how the Indiana Pacers have played the rest of these playoffs, they haven't cared that they're the underdog. They've been in games where it looks like there's no chance they're going to win that game. Then they eventually win the game. So can they find a way to take game 1? I don't know. I really do hope that this is a series. I really do hope that we got some good competition here, but there's no way of finding out. And honestly, I think game 1 is going to kind of dictate a little bit of what the series is going to look like. I will say this. The Pacers have to have the second and the third best players in the series. If you want to give Shai Gilgeous-Alexander all the credit in the world and say, hey, Shai's the best player in the series, cool. I'm all good with that. He's the MVP of the league. But Tyrese Haliburton and Pascal Siakam got to be the second and the third best player in this series. If you're comparing Pascal Siakam to Jaylen Williams, and Jaylen Williams is going toe for toe. By the way, Jaylen Williams was phenomenal against Minnesota. And he's kind of had some moments where it's like, I don't know where Jaylen Williams is. And then the next game, he drops 35 on you, which just shows his freaking potential down the road and how good he's going to be. But he's still very young. It might take him, some time to be the Jaylen Williams that we're going to look at in 3-4 years from now. But Pascal Siakam and Tyrese Haliburton have to be the second and third best players in this series. They have to be. That's a non-negotiable. It's the only way that I think they can make this a series. Now, they also got have a lot of their other role players step up. There's so many other facets of this series that we're going to look at. But that, to me, is such a critical piece for the Pacers. Are your two dudes who are phenomenal? Pascal Siakam might be one of the more underrated players in the entire league for what his value is. And Tyrese Haliburton's definitely getting his love and his praise so far in the playoffs. But those two players have to be brilliant this entire series, and there can't even be a question mark. When you say, hey, who are the top 3 players in this series? It's got to go Shai, Tyrese Haliburton, and Pascal Siakam in any order if the Indiana Pacers have a chance of actually making some noise in this series. I was listening, one of our friends who's been on the show before, Amin El Hassan. I was listening to him. He's on with Dan Le Batard, and they do that show. And I was listening to him. They were talking about right after I think it was on Monday, I want to say. I'm going for a walk, and I'm listening, and they're previewing this NBA Finals. And something that came up, and Amin, I thought, yeah, he described it very well. He's like, listen, any place that you want to say, well, the Indiana Pacers got this guy in Tyrese Haliburton that might be one of the best point guards in the NBA. The Oklahoma City Thunder could come back and say, cool, we have the point guard that just won the most valuable player of the year award and is clearly one of the top 3 players in the NBA. Or if they want to say, we got one of these defenders, his name is Naismith, and he's a really, really great defender, and he could lock down, and you saw what he did against Jalen Brunson. then OKC can say, cool, we got an all defensive Lou Dort on our team that can do exactly the same type of thing. Or we got a gritty player that can come off the bench and TJ McConnell. They're like, cool, we got a much better player than that in Alex Caruso. And I think what Amin was trying to make, I think the point he was trying to make is whatever Indiana has from a strength perspective, OKC has exactly that, but better. Now, I will argue against that. I think, one point he didn't make was the Siakam factor, and I think Siakam's obviously a big factor. I think another piece that they didn't kind of throw in there, which is going to be potentially important, Rick Carlisle, obviously the coach of the Indiana Pacers. He's won an NBA championship before. He's been there before. So I think there are some factors where you could look at the Pacers and say maybe they can make this, obviously make this a series. So overall tonight, Pacers and the Oklahoma City Thunder, game 1. Looking forward to the game. And when Sammy comes on at 8:30, we'll kind of talk a little bit more about game 1. But I wanted to at least kind of start off the show with that, and then I'll get into some of the other different topics that I have here. Okay, so let me take a quick look here. I want to look at some of the comments here as we go. Let's see what we got here. Good morning, Slee. We got to go Pacers here. Is that where we are? I think that's where we are. I think where we are in regards to, I think a lot of people want the underdog. I get it. I understand that. It comes up a lot. Pacers going to win. I said this before, and I try to give credit where credit's due. This chat has been telling me for a little bit. They're like, Al, I think the Pacers, I think you're underestimating them. And then they went out and they beat the Cavs. And then I underestimated them again. Then they went out and beat the Knicks. And here I am again underestimating them. Now, I will say this. I do think they can make this a series. I picked OKC in 6. I think a lot of people got OKC wrapping this up earlier. So however you want to look at it, describe it, whatever the case is, that part's going to be, I think, interesting. All right, let me look at some of the comments here. Let's see. Would like to see a good series. That's it. Sounds like some people don't have a dog in the fight. Slee, I'm so down on these Lakers. We have minimal trade value, except for Reaves. Hardly any picks, and I don't think Rob has a resume to get it done with these ingredients. I'm going to star this. We'll come back to this. I'm going to do I'll talk about that trio. I was mentioning something that Trevor Lane had put out there. And we'll get into that. I think we'll have a good idea of that conversation that we can have once I get into that. I liked SCA's interview with Malika. He said he's giving full respect to the Pacers and not taking them lightly. Liked his attitude. He's a pro's pro. I mean, listen, he might not be the most exciting player in the NBA. He might not draw you the highest ratings. But if you're the Oklahoma City Thunder and you're Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, what's your goal? Your goal is to win a championship. Your goal is to have somebody that plays the right way. All right, there's SGA. Now, I wish he didn't do as much foul baiting. That's the only thing that I wish SGA wasn't, I think, too wrapped up in, because I do think that style of basketball is awful, and it's awful to watch. But I think a lot of people have this on their mind. It's going to be a boring finals, gentleman's sweep, whatever the case is. I hope that's not the case. But, what I will say is I think that I think at the end of the day, SGA is a pro's pro, and I don't care if he's the most flashy player or not. If you told me he was playing for the Lakers or anybody out here that's a fan of the NBA, I think you got to like some of the things that he brings to the table. All right, let's see what we got here. Can we trade Reaves for Jaylen Williams? Not happening. And I'm telling you not happening because it's not happening from the other side. It's not happening from won't happen from the side of the Oklahoma City Thunder. Thunder got something really, really unique that they're building there, and I don't think they're going to do anything to mess it up. All right, let's see what we got here. Okay, a couple things. I'm going to kind of move along here. I got a couple other topics that I want to get into, and Sammy's going to come on in about 15 minutes. He'll come join the show. 8:30, Sammy will be there, so we'll hit with him when we get to that. Okay, so I saw this yesterday. I'm curious to get people's opinion on this, and I'll pop this up with everybody. And again, shout out to Trevor Lane, who's always out there trying to make it happen, trying to bring up good topics and everything else. Let me present this with everybody. Let me show this to everybody here. Trevor Lane put this out yesterday. Okay. Where does Luka, LeBron, and Reaves rank as a trio in the Western Conference? It's funny. When I think of that trio, when I think of those three players, honestly, it's not something that I look at and I'm like, oh my gosh, you got to watch out for those three. They're good players. Luka's a phenomenal player. Austin Reaves is a really, really good player. LeBron, I don't need to tell you guys his resume and everything else. But when I saw Trev put this up, one of the first things that came to my mind is it's not about having three good players. It's about having three good players that fit. It's about having three good players that fit at the right time. Or I'm sorry, it's about having three good players that are all kind of maybe in the same maybe trajectory of their career is the right way to put it. I look at these three. We look at Luka, we look at LeBron, we look at Austin Reaves, and we start in the conversation of where do these three compare to other trios in the NBA. And to be honest with you, I'm not even here to try to rank them and say, well, I think they're the fifth best in the NBA when it comes to trio. That's not the point of this conversation. But he, listed out here, obviously the Thunder, Houston, Denver, Clippers. Clippers, you could put Zoo there. You could probably put Norman Powell there. Minnesota, Golden State, Memphis. He lists out, some of these different teams. And by the way, this is just in the Western Conference. He's not even talking about the East. We're not putting Boston in there, New York or Cleveland or any of these other teams. The thing that stuck out to me more than anything else, and I think a lot of these teams kind of have some of their flaws. It's not that, everything is perfect. But the thing that stuck out to me more than anything else with these three players and kind of the trio of where they rank in the Western Conference, the fit struggles. The fit struggles. There's so many flaws when you look at these three players together. There was a comment here earlier, and I think somebody was talking about. I'll try to see if I could highlight that comment. I know I put it in here earlier. This one, Smokey had put out there, down about the Lakers, minimal trade value, everything else that he said right here. For me, I understand, and I think the Lakers can kind of get better around the edge, around the margins, and kind of find a way to improve what the roster looks like eventually down the road. My problem as I sit here and I look at those three players and I look at that trio, my issue more than anything else is the fit. The fit. I mean, we spent most of this offseason already saying, guys, can you have Luka and Austin Reaves in your backcourt together and really be taken seriously to go try to win an NBA championship? The rest of the roster has got to be perfect if that's the case. Okay, now mix Bron into it. It was just a couple days ago. Who was saying this? I think it was Danny Green. I think Danny Green was talking about how LeBron's about to be 41. I mean, can you really be depending on LeBron? You're going to have another 50 and change that's going to LeBron. I think to me, the thing that stands out more than anything else, again, I'm not going to try to rank this of where these guys are in the Western Conference and kind of where exactly they rank. But the thing that really stuck out to me with that tweet was these three players don't fit. Let's put it this way. It's not a seamless fit. LeBron can still be great. Luka, we obviously know, hopefully he's in the best shape in his life and he comes in as one of the top 2, 3 players, 5 players in the NBA, and we go from there. And Luka's a Laker for years to come. Austin Reaves has got a lot of great assets that come with what he can bring to the table. But at the end of the day, the thing that stuck out to me most when I looked at that tweet and I looked at those trios, it's like these guys don't gel. You better have, in a perfect world, you had Luka, and then you had a real big that you can depend on, and then you could kind of figure out, okay, whether it's LeBron or Austin Reaves, however you kind of round out the rest of that trio. But I look at those three players, I look at those three guys, and those are some of the things that kind of initially come to my mind. Ranking them in the Western Conference, I was like, why am I going to even rank them? What's the point of ranking these three? It's more about how the pieces just don't fit. But I also understand this, and I'm very, very aware of this. The Lakers knew this wasn't going to fit. they knew that. I mean, the fit of Anthony Davis, Austin Reaves, and LeBron James, that was a fit. That was kind of how they were building their team. They knew that there was going to be some awkwardness once they made the trade for Luka. We saw it in the playoffs. And then we'll probably see it until LeBron retires. And then once LeBron is done and he retires, then you could naturally try to fit in the right three players together to, obviously to build the type of team that you're looking for. Okay, let me look at a couple of the comments here real quick, and then we'll bring Sammy on after that. So let me see here what we got here. Austin and Luka is backcourt is a second round exit at best, or a first round exit. Might not be a second round exit. Second round means they would have lost to the Golden State Warriors. They didn't get to the second round. All good players, but they don't fit. That might be the simple terms here to just watch. All good players. Nobody's saying that the players aren't, obviously phenomenal. What they're saying is these guys don't fit. All right, let's see what else we got here. Of course they don't fit. This team was thrown together by chance with Luka trade. And then that's what I was just kind of mentioning and justifying. That was never the plan, but when you get a chance to get Luka, then you go make it happen. However, okay, now you're in the offseason, and now you're going to have to make big decisions to try to, obviously put together a team that you do feel like can actually make some noise or at least do some type of damage in the playoffs. Okay, you guys got some more comments. Feel free to throw them in. We'll continue to get to some of these comments. I got some Adam Silver stuff I want to get into. Got some NBA news. Like I mentioned, there's a lot of different NBA news that's out there that we're going to get into as well. Before I do all that, let's welcome in Sammy to the show. Sammy sitting back, waiting patiently, ready to go, ready to talk some NBA. Sammy, good morning, brother. What's going on?
What's up, dude? How you doing?
I'm good, buddy. How about you?
Doing good. I meant to text you. I was in your old haunt last week, El Cajon.
Good old El Cajon. Okay, now what got you down to El Cajon? Tell me what was in El Cajon.
My buddy Nassim said it's the best Middle Eastern restaurant around town, and he was correct. And I said, I was like,
do you remember what it was called?
I don't, because I also don't totally know the name, and I don't want to say it because I'm going to mess it up. So,
But I thought you were Middle Eastern.
I was adopted because of you.
Yeah, when I initially saw you, I was like, he's Middle Eastern. You could definitely tell.
I'm like, I know the king of El Cajon, Sliwa. And I said your name, people were just rushing the streets. I mean, they were like, "Oh my God, that's our guy, that's our celebrity." They
were probably like, "Are you ordering or no? Because you're holding up the line." Okay, order your damn food and get the hell out of the line. All right, well, that's good to know. Okay, so you went find out what the name. Eventually, text your buddy and find out what it is.
I have it on text here. I'll figure it out by the end of the show.
Okay. So, by the way, that means it's probably pretty good that if you can't even pronounce it, then that's a good thing.
No, it was fantastic. It was absolutely packed. And yeah, so me and my friend were new food.
So for those who are, listen, in Southern California, you can find food anywhere. And I've said this before, and it's not a secret. If you're in LA, you go to Glendale if you want good Middle Eastern food, right? Even though I will say Pasadena's got some really good Middle Eastern restaurants as well. But if you're in San Diego, you go to El Cajon. Okay, that's like the Mecca when it comes to Middle Eastern food and everything else. Okay, so what's going on? How are you? You ready for a little game one of the NBA Finals?
I am. I hope we have a good series. Vegas does not think it's going to be a good series.
Vegas not excited.
Vegas. I can't believe they opened as plus 550, so almost 5.5 dogs. Now it's been bet up a little bit to plus 500, 5-1. There's some value there. Like yes, if you had a gun in my head, Thunder winning the series, I believe so. But this Pacers team has been riding a complete wave, and then it just kind of completely count them out because they're playing Oklahoma City feels wrong to me.
Okay, so let's I did mention that, I tasked you with breaking this down a little bit. How can Pacers, what's got to happen in order for the Pacers to make this a series? What should, if we're sitting here, whether it's in game one or maybe we're 4 games in and this thing is close or the games are a lot closer than we thought, what has to happen in order for Indiana to make this interesting?
It's going to come down to turnovers. So the Thunder actually, since 1973-74 season, They force 18 turnovers a game, and they only turn it over about 11.6. So that margin of 6.4 is actually the best of any team since 1973 that advanced past multiple rounds. Now, the good news for the Pacers is that they don't really turn the ball over. They're pretty good at this. Tyrese Haliburton over the first 4 games of that Knicks series was playing 40 minutes a night and only had 6 turnovers total in those games. So
how many games?
Over the first 4 games of that Knicks series,
Wow.
6 turnovers in total. So 1.5 per game. And again, this isn't a guy who just is playing 12 minutes a game. He's the point guard. He's leading the offense 40 minutes a game. So the Pacers have something there. And looking back at a lot of these Oklahoma City games, a lot of them are close at half. And even when you look at the blowouts, it's the third quarter where they come out, usually 6, 8, 10-point lead. That happened in the Nuggets a few times. And they just start turning the ball over and they get out and run a couple times in Minnesota as well. So they got to play with pace and they can't turn the ball over. And there's a couple key matchups, I think, within the game that will decide it.
Okay, so the Indiana's had just an unbelievable run. I think the one thing that I will say is I hope Indiana doesn't get caught in this, and this happens a lot. If the Pacers do not win the NBA Finals, people are going to sit back and say, hey, that's a really good season for Indiana. Right, they got to the NBA Finals. It was definitely a surprise. I think before the playoffs started, I would have told you Cleveland gets there, Boston gets there, New York gets there. I'm not picking Indiana till probably 4th at best. Now, sometimes teams that get this far and they're not supposed to get this far, there is a little bit of, hey, if we win it, awesome. If we don't, okay, then the world's not going to end. We're trending in the right direction. We got some young pieces. We like where, the team is going. OKC, granted, I don't think anybody guaranteed they'd get there. It's also not a surprise. One of 2 things were going to happen. If they didn't get there, people are going to say, guys, they're too young. Young teams don't get to the NBA Finals. And if they got there, everyone was just going to say, well, of course they got there. They won 68 games. They were so great in the regular season. That's going to be kind of interesting to see how that plays out. But I agree with you that I feel like it's a little bit underrated. People are underrating the Pacers as if they got again, I'm not telling you they got to beat Oklahoma City, but can they make it a series? Why can't they make it a series? Why can't they make this a 6-game series? Well,
and to that point, yes, Oklahoma City on paper, they kind of do everything a little bit better than the Pacers, and they are an elite team, 68 wins, phenomenal. But this is not like you're playing the Lakers coming off a 3-peat or those
Kevin Durant on the Golden State Warriors.
Where these teams have been there before. They've won NBA Finals. Would it surprise anyone if Indiana playing with kind of house money? And the quotes have been coming out all week. Pascal Siakam said, I don't expect anyone to pick us to win. And Haliburton kind of said we love playing that underdog role. And I really believe them with that because to what you were saying about maybe they won the Cavs game, the Cavs series, and all the gas kind of let out of the tank. Well, then they went and beat New York. They were dogs in the Bucks series, they were dogs in the Cleveland series, and then they were dogs against New York and Vegas. So they're kind of used to being here, and I don't know that Oklahoma City has the experience to come out and just dominate these guys right off the bat. All the pressure's on them.
All right, you said some matchups. For me, I was mentioning this when I started the show. I don't care how the 3 are ranked, but I think the only shot Indiana's really got in this series that 2 of the 3 best players in this series has to be coming from Indiana. So if you say SGA is the best player in the series, he's the MVP. Awesome. I get it. I understand it. But Tyrese and Pascal got to be the 2nd and the 3rd best players in the series. And I'm not even trying to disrespect Chet or Jaylen or any of these other guys, but I think Siakam is such a baller and is not talked about enough around the league. And a champion. Tyrese is getting more love now, as the playoffs have gone on. He's certainly got his fair share of love. When you look at matchups and you look at kind of the stars here, tell me a little bit what you think about those specific players.
So a couple matchups. So on the offensive side, Haliburton versus Lou Dort and then Caruso. So Lou Dort has stuck on Haliburton in the last couple seasons. Over the last 2 seasons, Haliburton's only averaged 12 points against this team.
Wow.
He's been taking less shots when Dort's guarded him. That can't happen. He has to be a scorer in the series. He cannot just be a facilitator.
Sure.
He has to take over and dominate. And then when the times when Dort's out, I'm assuming Caruso is going to slide in there and kind of spell him. On the other side for Garden Shea, it's going to be Nesmith and Nembhard. It's crucial. I think we're going to see tonight if they got a real shot in the series because if Nembhard can guard SGA, no one's going to shut SGA down. but not let him score 45 points and let Nesmith more focus on the offense. Because the big games that the Pacers have had, the big comeback against New York in game 1 was Nesmith when he hit all those threes. Nesmith is a massive offensive weapon. You cannot have him getting in foul trouble. You want to say all the foul merchant stuff, whatever it is, SGA can draw fouls. So you can't have him getting in foul trouble because they're going to need
SGA's already taken 6 free throws today. He's already taken. I already saw him at the line. Carlisle already got a technical.
He's in the arena right now, just sitting waiting. He's gonna get there. The first time it's called, it's gonna be mentioned. I get excited to see how many minutes into the game he gets a free throw. And then off the bench, I think if the Pacers somehow shock the world and do this thing, I think Mathurin is going to be the guy that's the coming out name. He was a top pick out of Arizona. He's got all the talent to be an elite scorer in this league, but they kind of took him, and it was kind of a logjam at the Pacers. You have all these guards, Haliburton, Nembhard, Nesmith. So he's kind of been reserved to the bench. Carlisle and him have had some beef over the years, the last couple seasons, and they've kind of been reporting on it on the newspapers up there about how he's too talented to be on the bench. But games 4 and 5, he had 20 points and then 23 against the Knicks. He was kind of the unsung hero off the bench. I think he's got to be the guy that if the Pacers have a real shot, that could come off the bench and add some elite scoring where the Thunder aren't looking for it.
All right, so if you got to make your prediction, just so people know, Sammy during the NBA regular season, every prediction, he was undefeated in his predictions. He went 163-0 in his prediction, and he's taken bets, and people are calling him. He's a bookie. He's like in a back-end bookie nobody knows about. What is your prediction on the series?
I think Thunder in 6. If that's, I'm pulling for the Pacers. I think a lot of people, I want to see a good series. I think that I actually wouldn't be surprised if tonight the Pacers get this game. And I know they're 9.5 point dogs. I think they've
if there's one to steal,
it's got to be tonight because you got to take one in Oklahoma City. And we've seen this at times with teams. I know the Pacers have been off for 5 days. The Thunder have been off for 7, 8, something like that. You could come out a little sluggish. Again, all the pressure's on Oklahoma City tonight because if they lose this game, it's like the Pacers are expected to get blown out. Vegas says they're 9.5 point dogs. So they're kind of just waiting this thing to go back to Indiana. I think Thunder in 6, they do get it done, but I think these will be pretty good games, and I think it's going to be a lot better series than people are giving it credit for.
Okay, I got a couple things that we'll kind of go to, and if people got thoughts on the series, you guys can feel free to put it in the comments, and I'll get to it here in just a second. I want to. Adam Silver was on Breakfast Ball, I think it's what it's called. That's the morning show on Fox. So he was on, and a couple of things that he said. I thought one of the things he said was interesting. He said if we were going to a Super Bowl and it was Packers versus the Steelers, you guys would celebrate that. And I think what he was trying to say is, obviously talking about 2 small market teams that are in the NBA Finals. I like that he addressed it, by the way. He also said something that I think is, I don't think you can kind of hide away from this stuff. I think if you are Adam Silver and the way you would like to, in a perfect world, build the league is we want parity. We want markets to come in every single year and think they got a shot to make some noise in the playoffs. And if, I know NFL is the beast of them all, but Sammy, you and I, if it's the Cincinnati Bengals taking on the Green Bay Packers on a Thursday night, I don't know what you're doing, but I'm watching the Bengals and the Packers, and it doesn't matter the market size or anything like that. And I'm not telling you that that's what the NBA is, but I do like that Adam Silver is leaning into that. I do like that he's basically saying, like, this is the type of league that we want. A lot of people want to make stuff about the ratings, and a lot of people want to say, the way the NBA is played, and I don't like this, and you know what, LeBron's too controversial, and he talks too much about politics and this and that. Okay, well, if you like basketball, you got 2 teams that play really good basketball and actually have a balance of guys where they're not just so dependent on just one player. We'll find out if this is what the audience wants, but I really do like Adam Silver. Like, well, this is what we're going to build. And, people say that ratings, this and that. Guys, they have guaranteed contracts from Amazon, from NBC, from ESPN. Like, they'll be fine. They're not struggling. They will be fine.
Yeah, that was an interesting comment. I like that he addressed it. Now, the NFL is in its whole other realm because
I get it.
Nothing's bigger than the shield, and that's something that baseball struggled with. The NBA has struggled with. The NBA is really built on, as we all know, stars. That's what makes LeBron is. You can make an argument bigger than the NBA brand. I don't know about that. I'm not saying that. But LeBron's status. There's Steph Curry. There's certain players that kind of elevate past the team. And so I like what he's trying to do. I get it. They've been trying to do this for years with the fact that you can have a supermax. That's why they allow supermax contracts to insinuate people staying in small towns in Oklahoma City. Because if it was like baseball where you were bidding, I mean, the Lakers, Knicks, Boston,
100%.
and Chicago would be in the championship every year because they would just pay for all the stars, and there would be no Indianas, there'd be no Oklahoma City. So I'm excited for the series. The ratings are going to be interesting. The only way the ratings are going to be good is if the series is good. But I do think there's an angle here that you're crowning a new star. This is not like the Warriors would bring the brand of Curry, and that's a big brand. But those Warrior Durant teams that were so much better than everyone, there was really not a shot. Even though the Thunder are a heavy favorite, they're still an unknown because we never seen them in this spot before.
Sure.
And they have been playing really good basketball recently. So I thought that was interesting. Now, the Packers and Steelers are two of the most historic franchises in the NFL. So it's a little bit of an odd comparison because you're talking about with massive fan bases, especially Pittsburgh. I mean, you can go anywhere, you see a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. But I like what he's trying to do. I like that he acknowledges it. And, yeah, as you said, we'll be watching.
By the way, I don't think the ratings are going to be good. And I think even if it's a good series, it probably won't be great as well. But I listen, they had massive ratings for the Knicks and the Pacers in the Eastern Conference Finals. Like, this is just if this is how it – if the Knicks were playing the Thunder, you'd probably get massive ratings as well. This is how it panned out. And that's going to happen in sports. You know what I mean? Like you're not going to get the ideal matchup you're not going to get Yankees and the Dodgers every single year. You may very well this year get, I don't know, think of I know it's not going to be this, but the Brewers and pick a team in the it happens. Like that's how sports works.
Yeah. I mean, in the NHL, you think they want Edmonton to get Canada, but you think they want Florida, the Florida Panthers? Like what? Like that's just such a random thing. This is how you know the NBA is not rigged, because if the NBA was rigged, every year the Lakers would be in the championship, or the Warriors, or Dallas maybe with the big market playing the Bulls and the Knicks because of ratings. But the one thing, you're crowning a new star, so I think that could draw something. And the last few NBA finals haven't been all that great. Unless you're a fan of the team that won, there hasn't been a ton of
they've been, I think, 5 games, right? I think last year you had Luka and the Celtics. It went 5. It's not like it was a good series or anything.
Like the last finals, I'm trying to think of the last finals that was like good. I mean, the Miami and the Lakers went 6, but no one really thought Miami had a shot to win that thing. I don't know. And I mean, it'd be fun to see one of these finals, a classic, Kobe versus the Celtics Game 7, or the pin down block in 2016. Those are classic instances, but it'd be fun to see a finals like that.
You said that this is how we know the NBA is not rigged until the Dallas Mavericks get Cooper Flagg with the number 1 pick.
I didn't say the draft lottery wasn't rigged. I just said the games weren't rigged.
So, by the way, and I got a couple other things just real quick we'll get into with Adam Silver. So he had said something. I got video on it, but I don't even think it's necessary to play. I'll just read the quote. Adam Silver credits the Dallas Mavericks for not tanking. This is what he said. By the way, I think there's a little bit of truth to this. He said they were trying to win. Then Kyrie got injured. Anthony Davis got injured. So they found themselves in the lottery. Odds are odds. And that's how it churned out. Okay. It's funny. I think it kind of is what it is at this point. If I'm Adam Silver, anytime the draft is brought up, I'm changing the subject. I'm saying, man, how crazy are the tariff conversations? I'm going anywhere. I'm grabbing for straws for anything. Anyways, he hit on that for a quick second. I'm not here to believe anything when it comes to the draft. Is what it is. The last thing I just want to say on the Adam Silver all-star format, it looks like it's probably going to change, and they're going to go USA versus the world on the all-star game format. I'll get your opinion on this first, and then I'll give mine. What do you make of the all-star game? Is it made to be a bigger topic than it really is. It is just one weekend a year, but yet there's a lot of people with real opinions on the All-Star game. And then if they do change it to USA versus World, do you like that idea?
Love the new idea. I think looking at hockey, that's really what started it, was the Four Nations face-off between Sweden, Finland, Canada, and the U.S. And most radio shows and talk shows aren't leading with hockey around the United States. I've always been an LA Kings fan, so I've watched it my whole life. But I had people hit me up that had never watched hockey before getting into it, because you can kind of all get together and watch USA. It familiarizes you with the American stars. I hate all-star games. I think they are despicable. I hate the Pro Bowl. I watch every NFL game there is. The Pro Bowl is a joke. The NBA All-Star game is a joke. The only one that was okay for a while was MLB, when the Game 7 of the World Series, you got home court advantage or home field advantage. That one was the only one that was kind of relevant, and they kind of played.
And it was it was too extreme. It's like you cannot give home field to because some dude got a base hit on the from the Cardinals. You know what I mean? Like it's just you can't do that.
Yeah. So I like that they're doing something with this. This actually makes it fun. And to this point, the NBA is trying to grow the game outside the U.S. The last, how many MVPs have been foreign players? I think Luka, Giannis, Jokic, Shea, all these guys. The last Olympics was super fun because you had legit competition. Canada was a legit competition. France, and then Curry went on that run. I like this. I think this is fun because no All-Star game gets me to the TV.
It's funny. I growing up, maybe I can look back and say, in the era of when it was Magic and Jordan, I think of when I was growing up when they were in the All-Star game. You think of the Barkleys of the world, the David Robinsons, Hakeem Olajuwons, all that stuff. Now, I don't think those players were, I think there's a little bit of, I think it's blown out of proportion. I think people try to make it sound like these guys were, would give up anything to win an All-Star game. That's not how it was. Now, there are some people who are crazy. I'm sure Kobe was crazy and wanted to win All-Star games, and maybe there's some other guys with that DNA as well. I really like the idea about USA versus World. I really do like it. And I think the amount of people that complain about the All-Star game, I get it to an extent, because the players have also not helped the conversation. I mean, they don't give a flying what that they're in this All-Star game. So that, I think, has something to do with it, is that the players just show that they just genuinely have no interest at all. But I like the USA World idea, and I do think that we make way too big of a deal that these guys don't care about an All-Star game. It's like, all right, it's literally an exhibition game. Why should we care that much? Team OG, the NBA is trying to grow the game outside of the U.S. Everything will be geared towards world teams. Yep, I could see that. No one watched the NHL All-Star game. No, that got love. The NHL, that you're talking about USA versus Canada, right? Was that
the Four Nations, not the All-Star game, the Four Nations face-off where they played Canada, Sweden, and Finland, where it was that kind of tournament, and then they played US, Canada, like that. That was kind of fun, in my opinion.
No, that actually got love, and I'm not a hockey guy, and I know there was a lot of people talking about that when that happened. Okay, I'm going to jump around here a little bit. There is, we'll do a little Lakers right now, and then I got some NBA stuff that I'll just kind of get into as before the show ends. Sammy, you sat back, you watched all the playoffs. Lakers have been out of the playoffs for over a month. We sit here today, and I think, some of the areas that we know the Lakers got to improve on, we're very well aware. They need a center. They need this. We've heard some of the different names that have been rumored around the Lakers. Just kind of curious your feel and your are you positive going into the offseason here that, in the next couple of weeks, we're going to be hearing real names and maybe trades and things along those lines? Are you encouraged about this offseason? Do you feel maybe when you see quotes from guys like Brian Windhorst that 13 teams are going to be trying to compete in the Western Conference? Like, just how do you feel their position?
I think they're going to be good. And to give Rob Pelinka a little love, whenever we feel like the situation may be dire, which I don't think it is right now, he does kind of always seem to pull a rabbit out of his, and do this thing. This team was never meant to compete when they traded for Luka. I heard you saying it earlier on the show before I got on. Like, we all got excited because they were playing
Luka.
good ball. And it was Luka, and they were winning games surprisingly. But to think that team is, I mean, really, realistically, to only have a guy over 7 foot that's Jackson Hayes, were they going to win a title? No. I mean, I thought they would get past Minnesota. I thought that would happen, or I thought maybe because Golden State didn't have any size, they could get past them. But was it realistic to face a Boston had they been there, or a Cleveland with Mobley, or Oklahoma City? Probably not. But, this team wasn't meant to. This was a move for the future, and then the future is going to come. All they need is a couple centers. They need wing defenders, 2 centers, whether that be like a really good center, and then you have Hayes back on the bench. I think a veteran point guard would be nice to come off the bench to kind of run a little bit of the offense.
Can I ask you a question? What's a really good center, and that's realistic? Because I think there's different definitions of maybe really. Is Nick Claxton a really good center in your eyes?
I think a really good center for the Lakers. I think is Nick Claxton a superstar? No, but Nick Claxton.
I like that. A good center for the Lakers, Lakers specifically. Yep.
For the Lakers, Nick Claxton would be fantastic. And you don't have to trade Reaves to get him. I think it's very manageable. You still have picks from the Luka deal. Now there's more picks and pick swaps available because it's the offseason. Connect. They obviously were willing to deal Connect for the Mark Williams deal, and he's still there. Got a lot of trade value because he's a young shooter. So I think the Lakers are going to be good. I agree with this. Lakers need solid players, not superstars. They have the superstars. You need some bigs. I think a guy like Nickeil Alexander-Walker will be very affordable, really good elite, kind of defender and hit some threes. The Lakers are there. They just need to tweak the roster a little bit. I think they could be a real threat for next year.
I put out a video yesterday. Literally, it was on those 2 players. On if Trevor Lane was on here, Lakers Nation. We're talking about, listen, if you found a way, you got Nick Claxton over the summer, you put together a trade package. I think, I think there's levels to an Austin Reaves trade, and I'm not trading Austin Reaves for any of the Jared Allens or the Daniel Gaffords or the Nick Claxtons. I'm not. I think some people would put him in a deal. But if you're able to get a guy like Nick Claxton and you gave up some expiring contracts, you gave up some draft compensation, and I don't know if that's going to be enough. And then I think a guy like Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who was only going to get a certain amount of playing time in Minnesota. I think it's clear he's not going to be a part of Minnesota's future. He's just not. I don't think they could pay him. They're dealing with a second apron as well. If that's your offseason, and then you're kind of able to, get just a couple small pieces from a fit perspective and everything else, or you brought back Jackson Hayes, so you got another 7-footer that's sitting on the bench. That's interesting. My concern with the Lakers is there's so much competition right now for such few players. It's not a big free agency pool. If you are going to make a move, it's going to have to come in trades. When I hear Sham say that expect kind of one of these more wild off seasons, that makes me think that there's so many teams doing deals. Do the Lakers have the assets to go make deals that other teams are just as desperate to go make?
I think it's small free agent pool, but the one nice thing about it is everyone's big game hunting because Giannis is, all reports available. A lot of smoke and fire there. Kevin Durant report yesterday from Shams that they're going to actively work with him to find a trade partner. There's like 4 to 6 teams in on him. I don't think the Lakers are in on Kevin Durant, and Giannis would be fantastic. I don't think the Lakers probably have the package to, unless they're really high on Austin Reaves. That's kind of the one guy that the Lakers can offer that a lot of players can't.
There'll be a lot of teams that will give up just a way better package than what the Lakers can. The only way Giannis could even be a relevant conversation is if Giannis is like, I'm only going to the Lakers, and that's it. And it's going to take that kind of strong arm, and even that I don't think would guarantee it.
He's rumored about the big markets. That's the only thing I've kind of heard. I mean, Houston could give a massive package. The Spurs could give a massive package with Castle and that number 2 pick. So don't expect that. But the big game hunting, I think, does benefit the Lakers. There's some players I think that have some value that aren't getting looked at that could really help this team because, again, I don't think the Lakers need a superstar. They got superstars. They got big-time players. LeBron's won he's won 5 rings or 4 rings. Luka went to the finals the year before. Austin Reaves, I'm higher on Austin Reaves than a lot of people, I think. But this team with some tweaks, I think, could be really good heading into next year and be atop the Western Conference with Oklahoma City.
Yeah, that trio is nice on paper. but that trio also doesn't, those pieces all don't fit. And unless you address, like you just mentioned, you got to make sure that everything else is perfect. If those are going to be your three guys going into next year, it's not that Reaves isn't talented. It's not that Luka can't be a top 3-5 player in the NBA. It's not that LeBron's not one of the greatest to ever do it. It's, do the puzzle pieces fit? I can have these different ingredients to make a meal, but if all three of these ingredients have nothing to do together, that part's a problem.
See, I would wait on the Reaves deal. If bless you, if Reaves, I wouldn't trade Austin Reaves, but if I was going to trade Austin Reaves, I would be waiting till the deadline to see, does he work with Luka? Because we didn't really get to see him that much together.
Good point.
Yes, the defensive concerns are an issue. Luka doesn't play defense, and Reaves is super slow and can't play defense. So I understand that. They didn't get to play that much together because Luka was hurt for a little while, and then Reaves was hurt for a second. So I would let him there. I mean, you're telling me at a deadline that some teams wouldn't want an all-star level player, possibly, that's an elite scorer in a package who are desperate to get to a championship. I think trading him right now when his value might be a little down, considering the Minnesota series, would be a mistake.
Well, I think the other piece of that is, if you do decide, hey, at the trade deadline, you're going to be figuring out a lot of answers as well. Where are the Lakers? Where's the team? Do you want to pay him $30 million in the offseason? Is there a team out there that you can make a deal with that he's comfortable with saying, hey, I would sign an extension here? There'll be a lot that can happen there. But I think the thing you said that was most important, what does the team look like when they get the training camp together, they get preseason together, they actually get to put a team together that actually has pieces that will fit. So I think a lot of those are fair.
And Luka's skinny now, so the world's back to peak. He's been on that diet. Those green juices already a month in. 6-pack coming for October.
Can we please, for an NBA basketball player like Luka, especially a guard in the NBA, I pray that we're not talking about, is Luka in shape for this upcoming season? Yeah. If him and I have the same percentage body fat, that's not a good thing, man. I'm telling you right now, that's not a good thing. Pelinka probably had 10 irons in the fire that we know nothing about. I hope so. It's funny with Pelinka. The guy got Luka, and I think a lot of Laker fans don't want to give Pelinka credit. I'll still give credit where credit's due. I think the Dorian Finney-Smith move was the right move, even though DFS, I don't think, performed all that well in the postseason. He's had some moments where you're like, oh, yeah, that's a good move. And then he's had moments where it's like, yeah, I don't know what they're doing. So this offseason, we'll kind of find out where they go from here. All right, brother, we're back to the playoffs. So I hope you enjoy the NBA Finals. Hope you obviously get to kick back, relax, and do that. And then let's do this again next Thursday. So we're going to try to bring Sammy on every Thursday here that we could talk some hoops.
Alan, you're the best, brother. Thank you.
All right, buddy. Text me that Middle Eastern restaurant. I got to know now.
I'm gonna send it right now.
Yeah, now I got to know. Now I'm. What'd you say your buddy's name? Naseem.
Naseem, yeah.
Naseem sounds like he knows where he's going.
I think he might be watching right now, so I'm gonna get teed up for this.
I'm profiling Naseem. I can profile him because I'm Middle Eastern as well. Naseem sounds like he knows where he's going. All right, brother. I appreciate it.
We're not too far off.
All right, man. Are you kidding me? You got Naseem taking you to a Middle Eastern. I might need Naseem to take me to a Middle Eastern restaurant. All right, that's perfect. That's perfect. Good work, Naseem. Good work, Sammy. All right, that's fun. We got some good topics right there. I do have some. By the way, somebody asked me this. I got best Middle Eastern in Pasadena. There's a really, really good place called Father Nature. Phenomenal Middle Eastern food. Now it's more like wraps, sandwiches. Now you could get plates as well. But Father Nature, if you're in Pasadena, you want good Middle Eastern food, I'm going to shout them out. I go there all the time. It's phenomenal. All right, let me hit on a couple more topics that I got going on here that I want to. A lot of people giving love to Sammy. I'm glad you guys like when Sammy comes on. And he gives good info, like good content. That's what I'm hoping for with Sammy. You guys know that because he was doing those preview videos all season long. A lot of different NBA rumors I'm going to get into here real quick. All right, so let's spend a couple of minutes on that. This is kind of wild here, and we're going to jump into every single one here real quick. Shams yesterday coming on and talking about he was on with Malika on ESPN show, and he was talking about Kevin Durant. He said, conversations will now begin to pick up on a potential trade of Kevin Durant out of Phoenix over the next 2 to 3 weeks. We did see a report as well that it might happen before the NBA draft. They will begin to heat up. 4 to 6 teams seriously interested in KD potentially ahead of the NBA draft. Okay. Where KD goes, obviously that has a lot of impact on the Western Conference and if he goes with the right team. If I could be completely honest with everybody, KD to me is up in the air. Wherever he goes, the system better be perfect, the coach better be perfect, and they better have all the right players around him, because Kevin Durant making decisions on his own, Kevin Durant has not made the best decisions. Now, of course, he went to the Golden State Warriors. That was a no-brainer. He won championships, but his other stops that he's gone to, Brooklyn, Phoenix, whatever the case is, they've been awful, awful stops for him. So we'll find out where KD goes, but 4 to 6 teams reportedly interested. I saw this morning. Jaylen Brown. This is Chris Mannix of Sports Illustrated. The San Antonio Spurs are a team to watch for with Jaylen Brown. Here's what Chris Mannix said. The team I'd watch the closest with Jaylen Brown is probably the Spurs. Sure, I think the Spurs would love to make a run at Giannis, but do the Bucks ask for Castle? Is that on their wish list? And if it is, I can't see San Antonio doing a deal like that. So, again, I go back to it. The San Antonio Spurs have been basically linked now to Giannis, to Kevin Durant, and go ahead and add Jaylen Brown to that list as well. That's crazy. That's wild. Do I think the Celtics would actually trade Jaylen Brown? I don't think so, but who knows now with Celtics new ownership, trying to get under, I know they're going to pay this crazy tax. We'll see what they decide to do. But the one thing that I can tell you is San Antonio's getting somebody. I mean, if you start looking at teams that didn't make the playoffs last year that are going to make the playoffs this year, the San Antonio Spurs they're positioning themselves, and they got the number 2 pick in the draft based on, the lottery. Mavs get number 1, Spurs get number 2. That's going to be a scary team for years to come. So we'll see what eventually happens there. But there was another rumor. 2 other things that I just want to hit on here real quick from an NBA perspective. I think this is the time of the year to do it. It's a fun time of the year. And obviously this is only going to pick up steam. The Pelicans are now, Joe Dumars is running, I think is making all basketball decisions there now too. Joe Dumars on Zion. I've had some real honest conversations with him, some real direct and honest conversations. We're going to go forward with Zion. He's going to continue to be a focal point here as we go forward. I don't know if Joe Dumars all of a sudden, because he had real honest conversations with Zion, feels more comfortable about him now, or is the value for Zion Williamson not what New Orleans would try to give up? I mean, personally, I think you'd be selling low if you sold on Zion. He does have a legal case that he's dealing with. So kind of a mess for Zion Williamson. We'll see what happens there. And then the last thing, and then I'll read some of your guys' comments here. The last thing that I'm going to read here real quick is I've heard this before because I was listening to NBA Sirius Radio, and then somebody else said it as well. Amico Hoops. I think it's Sam Amick on this one. Is that Sam Amick? No, Sam Amico said this in regards to the Knicks and Jalen Brunson. He said that Knicks players, per Hoopwire sources, multiple Knicks players have been unhappy with the presence of assistant coach Rick Brunson, the father of star guard Jalen Brunson. What that issue is exactly has not been determined. Those sources suggested that Rick has had too big a say in things. You know what's wild? I think it's wild. I didn't even know this until the season was going on with the Knicks. I'm like, his dad's a lead assistant? What is this, AAU? But I've heard that a couple times now, that a lot of players are not happy that Jalen Brunson's dad is sitting on the sidelines and he's a key assistant to Thibodeau. We'll see that now Thibodeau is gone, if that also means they move on from Rick Brunson as well. All right, let me look at a couple quick comments here, and then we'll keep things moving here. Spurs are too smart to gut their team for senior citizens. I think the Giannis thing is different. I think the Giannis thing is, if you can get Giannis Antetokounmpo, I don't know what you want me to tell you. San Antonio has 5 firsts they can trade. They got a lot of picks, a lot of draft capital. Chris Mannix is a Boston fan too. Crazy he throws that out there. This is in regards to Jaylen Brown. Let's see what else we got here. I can see KD going to the Rockets. Okay, let's go back to this. We're talking about he's got to be in the perfect situation. Okay, KD on a team that actually plays defense, has a coach that looks like he knows everything that he's doing. It feels like there's structure. KD's got to be in a system that just makes sense. OKC had that structure. Warriors had that structure. He hasn't had structure since. And part of that is on him. You know, some of the different players he's chosen he wanted to play with. Let's see. Durant to the Spurs, Houston or Dallas. He will be back in Texas. Guy's going to be balling out wherever he goes. But again, it's got to be at the right place. Like I think I don't hold as much value to KD today that I maybe did 3, 4, 5 years ago. But KD in the right situation, and KD just has to be KD, that's a different story. Zion is such a disaster. Yeah, that's I don't know what to tell you there. Okay, final thing that I got here that I want to get into, and then we're going to call it a day. I saw this yesterday. Shaq has no regrets about relationship with Kobe Bryant during his time with the Lakers. Per Shaquille O'Neal, he wouldn't change anything about his relationship with the Lakers legend. He says this: a lot of people are like, if you had to do it all over again, would you have a better relationship? What would you do? Answer is nothing. I know I drove him crazy because as a leader, that's what you do. I'm sure there are a lot of guys on your football team that you know are really good, but you know they can be a whole lot better, so you push their buttons. He continued. Like I used to tell him, he wasn't great. Like I don't give an F what they say about you. This is my effing team, mother effer, and you follow suit. And he used to drive him crazy. Listen, I know I got an average 20 or 30. What are you going to do with the little punk? And he was trying to always outdo me. You know, it's funny. I think, and maybe Shaq has had different conversations. I know one time, obviously before Kobe passed, they had a sit-down conversation. It was on NBA TV. But I kind of disagree with Shaq on this. No regrets with Kobe. Well, let me throw some regrets in there. They broke up a championship caliber team because the two couldn't get along. No regrets with Kobe. There were a lot of times that Shaq walked into training camp and he wasn't in tip-top shape. I mean, I think to have the two best players in the world, and it's kind of wild to say, they won 3 championships in a row and they won 4 or 5 over an 8-year span. What if they played 10, 12 years together? I don't know. You didn't think you could have got one more championship with Kobe? I felt like there was still some meat left on the bone with those two players. But for Shaq, apparently not. They were good to go. Okay. I think that is all we got for the day. I appreciate everybody chiming in with your comments and your thoughts and everything else. I do want to give everybody a reminder. I mentioned this yesterday. Tonight, game 1 of the NBA Finals between the Pacers and the Thunder. I'm going to do a post-game show. So I'm going to go live after game 1. I'm not sure yet if I'm going to do it for every game. But I know I'm going to go live tonight. So if you're watching the NBA game tonight and you're a big fan of the NBA and you want some reaction right after the game, I'm going to do a regular post-game show like I've done in the past. I'm going to do it tonight for the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Indiana Pacers. We'll see how it goes. We'll see the level of interest. I'll kind of find out, but I'm going to do a post-game show tonight, so just a quick heads up on that front. All right, my people, thank you very much for coming on. Shout out to Sammy Long for being a part of the show. Shout out to everybody in the comments. I appreciate it, and I will see you guys tonight after game 1 of the NBA Finals. If not tonight, I'll see you guys tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Thank you, everybody.